Is it better to book your shore excursion through the cruise ship or on your own? The number one reason people book a Royal Caribbean cruise is for the destinations that those ships visit, but you may want to know if you need to book the excursion on a cruise and if you should do so with Royal Caribbean. Now, I love to explore the ports of call my ships visit because of how much there is to see and do. Experiencing new cultures, visiting historical sites, and forgetting all my cares at the beach are things I look forward to on every sailing. The conundrum is often not what to do, but how to do it. Is it better to book shore excursions with the cruise line, or can you do it better on your own? So here are some basic things to consider before you book your cruise shore excursion so that you make the right decision. Let's start off with some pros and cons of booking the excursion through the cruise line. Now, you can book all your shore excursions through Royal Caribbean, and it's clearly the easiest option. As soon as you actually book a cruise, you're able to access the cruise planner and see a variety of tours sold. The cruise line has gone through and already vetted all the tours and present ones that you can book quickly and will work with your schedule. That's the best thing about cruise line excursions. They're simple, easy to book, and come with a few guarantees. First, the tour operator is reputable. That means that each excursion has to pass an inspection by the cruise line, and it's a company that knows what they're doing. An equally important promise is that you won't miss the cruise ship. This is probably the number one reason I think most people book excursions through Royal Caribbean, is because they say that they'll get you back on the ship rather than being left behind, of course. Royal Caribbean's promise is that if you book a tour with them, they'll get you back on the ship. Now, in most cases, if the tour is running behind schedule, the tour operator will contact the ship and inform them so the ship can wait for them. Theoretically, if you guys were so delayed, the ship had to leave, Royal Caribbean would get you back on the ship later on, like they would arrange for you to get back on the ship at the next port or what have you. But honestly, in all my years of covering Royal Caribbean, I cannot recall this ever actually happening, because I would have thought this would have popped up, like someone would have posted about it. I'm not saying it hasn't happened. I'm saying that I cannot recall it ever happening. So I really don't think it's quite possible. This is especially important, though, when you have that guarantee, when you're taking a tour that requires a really long transportation time back to the ship. Like when I was in Le Havre, France last year, I took a nearly 3-hour bus ride to Paris, and I could have taken the train on my own, but being that far away gave me the heebie-jeebies, so I decided to book the tour through Royal Caribbean specifically for that guarantee. Now, the disadvantages of booking a cruise line excursion is it's not going to be the cheapest option. Many veteran cruisers really do lament, generally speaking, the higher prices for cruise line excursions. Royal Caribbean works with some high-quality tour operators, and of course, they're going to make a commission on the sales too. Objectively, a cruise line excursion will usually cost more. Another issue is that cruise excursions tend to sell out really quickly. Royal Caribbean has been particularly successful in marketing its app to cruisers, and the result has been that there's been a higher visibility to book tours. Decades ago, you could wait till you got on board the ship to book your excursions, but now that's practically a mistake because there'll be so few options left. And then another problem I have with cruise tours is they tend to include large groups. Large groups move slowly, require more stops, and it seems to me to have a lot of wasted time, a lot of hurry up and wait. Now, Royal Caribbean did recently introduce Royal Signature excursions that feature smaller groups and even skip-the-line options. But, of course, don't expect those to be inexpensive. And one more negative about a Royal Caribbean excursion is that, well, if it doesn't offer what you want to do, then you don't have an option. For example, if you want to do a certain activity or visit a certain place or what have you, and Royal Caribbean doesn't offer it, well, they don't offer it. There's no recourse. There's no way to go with them and be like, hey, can you do this instead? So that is kind of a negative. Now, Royal Caribbean does offer private journeys, which I'm sure somebody will comment on, which is actually your own private tour operator experience where you work with Royal Caribbean to set up a private experience. I've done, I believe, at least 2, maybe 3 private journeys in my entire cruising career. And each time I absolutely loved it, but my goodness, getting to that point is nearly impossible. Number one, the pre-cruise communication is terrible. There have been a number of ports in which I've tried to do a private journey experience and they just never responded to my messages at all. Secondly, when you do get somebody to come along and actually respond to your emails, I felt like it was very limited in the choices that are there. Obviously, it's more like a chat GPT prompt. The more explicit you are in what you want to do, the better they can arrange for it. In some cases, they may say we can't do it. But anyway, it does exist, but it's really difficult to actually get it to happen. And more importantly, it's also really expensive. If you're a new cruiser, I want to debunk a myth that you might have about shore excursions because they're definitely not cheaper on the ship. Do not purposely wait to book a shore excursion until you're on the ship because you're expecting a last-minute deal. Royal Caribbean actually charges the most on board. Think of it like paying rack rate for a hotel when you walk up instead of pre-booking online. There are sales every few weeks on excursions, and the pre-cruise price is almost always the cheapest. For example, I've seen Royal Caribbean advertise up to 30% off excursions booked before the sailing. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, well, okay, Matt, I understand the pros and cons now, but Is it safe to book an independent cruise excursion? The short answer is yes, but you need to do your research. Independent shore excursions offer a much greater variety of tours and at different price points. You can find a budget-friendly one or a lavish, all-inclusive option. The important thing is to look up reviews of the tour operator and the specific tour you're considering before you book it. The onus falls on you, basically, to vet the tour rather than the cruise line. Now, new cruisers may find this to be a daunting task, filled with hesitation regarding making a mistake, and in that case, well, there's really nothing wrong with sticking purely to cruise ship tours. The primary risk, in my opinion, when you're going on your own with a shore excursion that's not through the cruise line, is time and the tour delivering on what you expect. Certainly, you'll want to get back to the ship on time. No tour operator wants you to miss the ship because that kind of a bad review is really bad for business. So I recommend planning to get back at least 2 hours prior to the all aboard time so that an unexpected problem like traffic, a medical emergency, etc. doesn't hinder your ability to get back. Most cruise experts point out that independent tours can save you a lot of money. Plus, if the cruise line doesn't offer the activity you like, you can find one that does with your own company. One more thing, before you book, double check the cancellation policy. Royal Caribbean will refund your money if your ship is unable to dock at a port because of a weather or an itinerary change. Some independent tours may keep your deposit or not offer refunds if you can't make it, or certainly if you try to cancel like the day before or the day of, again, because your cruise ship is unable to dock there. Independent tours don't always offer full refunds if there's an itinerary change, but cruise ship tour always do. I had to learn this lesson the hard way when a recent cruise in which we had to cancel at the very last minute. We were doing a back-to-back on Voyager of the Seas over December, but my wife wasn't feeling well towards the end of cruise number 1, and we actually didn't go on cruise number 2. Now, if we had anything booked with Royal Caribbean, those shore excursions would have been refunded immediately, even though we canceled like the day before the cruise. But with an independent tour we had in Bimini, that tour operator wouldn't budge. Basically, we'd missed the window to cancel and we were out the money. So is it really better to book your shore excursion through the cruise line? Well, the answer is really it depends on your preferences and your comfort level. There's nothing wrong with booking a cruise ship shore excursion. Let me be very clear on that. I have booked many tours and will continue to book tours through Royal Caribbean because it's easy, simple, and there's less guesswork involved with it. And in some places, it just makes a lot more logistical sense. Again, long travel distances, I will always book the cruise line. Or even anything that requires like a mode of transportation that I can't like run back to the cruise ship. In Cozumel, I don't mind if I'm on the island and I can go on my own and quickly hop in a taxi. But if I ever go to the mainland of Playa del Carmen, you bet I'm booking through Royal Caribbean because I will never, ever, ever trust that. Although, to be clear, I'll never, ever, ever take the ferry to the mainland because it's called the Vomit Comet, but I digress. I think all too often a lot of people get hung up on cruise line versus not, and there are some people that are like, never book through the cruise line, it costs too much money. And other people are like, never book on your own because you're playing too much risk involved with it. I feel like there's a balance, and in most places you need to weigh both. I'll look at what Royal Caribbean offers, I'll look at what I can do on my own, and then pick the right decision for me. Let me know in the comments below, which one of those categories did I just mock? Were you the person who said always book the cruise line? Or were you the person who said always to book on your own? Let me know in the comments below. Apologies, I didn't mean to mock you. I'm just, this is how I think. Anyway, this has been Matt from RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com. We'll talk again real soon.